All right, hello everyone and welcome. My name is TJ Kidder. I'm the marketing manager here at Learn Academy, and I'm excited to have two guests with me here today to talk some more about our deferred tuition agreement and our partnership with Stride. Additionally, we're going to dive into a little bit more about what the DTA actually is and how it provides individuals with an opportunity to really make a successful career transition. With me, I have Kumba McGill, which is our Enrollment Manager at Learn Academy, and Tess Michaels, who is the CEO at Stride.
Everyone. Thank you for having me, TJ.
Kumba, when we launched our deferred tuition agreement with Stride, what were some of the challenges we were looking to solve for our students when we did that?
One of the primary missions of Learn Academy is to help break down barriers for individuals to gain access to coding education, create a new career path, and just a whole new life. And one of the main challenges for those individuals has always been finances. So this is one of the reasons why we started looking for a way to help individuals gain access to our program, but in a way that allows them to focus on learning and attaining this career path and remove the financial challenges, which is what led us to find this partnership with Stride and creating our deferred tuition agreement option.
Thank you, Kumba. Tess, one of the things that really drove us to partner with Stride is that your company always puts the interests of the students first. Can you talk a little bit more about why those values are important to Stride and maybe how the deferred tuition agreement kind of fits into that?
Absolutely. Look, I founded Stride from a student first perspective. I was actually a graduate student at Harvard, pretty struck by the sticker price and nervous about how I was going to pay for school. And what I realized is many of my peers were in the same boat. And what's amazing about this increasing trend toward really amazing upskilling and reskilling programs like Learn is the victory is not walking across the graduation stage and getting a diploma. It's really making sure that you're finding a meaningful career and getting placed into a place that you can really build a home. And in order to do that, as Kumba mentioned, financing is one of the most stressful parts of the process. So we wanted to make sure that students really felt like there was alignment between that cost of education and the value of the education. And also, we wanted to make sure it was accessible so a broader suite of students could get access to affordable funding. And so that's really where we developed the structure around the deferred tuition agreement, where it has an income trigger, so you always have downside protection, right? You only start making payments when you're earning above a certain amount, and then it's fixed dollar amounts after that point. So you really feel that certainty and that calm that you'll always be able to afford those payments, which is really key.
Thank you, Tess. I love that. I love how you kind of mentioned, it's just the interest of the students has just always been part of Stride, and that's really, really why we came to you and are really valued this partnership so far. And what's awesome is we actually have our first students just graduated from the deferred tuition agreement. They're on the job search right now, so it's actually a really exciting time for this program for us, and we're really continue to keep it moving. Kumba, can you just share a little bit more, maybe from a high level, how does the deferred tuition agreement work?
So the way the deferred tuition agreement works is you only make payments once you've obtained actual results, right? The DTA, you pay an affordable fixed monthly amount only in those months after graduation where you're employed. So you don't have to worry about, if I'm not making enough money, worried about payments, right? That can be very stressful for a student if you have to worry about loans and you're not making enough money to even have your basic living expenses paid for. The tuition agreement tends to look at where you're going, not where you've been. So the rates are based on your expected earnings and after completing the program. So you kind of forget about the stress of actually payments. You go through the program. Once you're done with the program, you have to be making at least $30,000 a year before you can start making any fixed monthly payments.
Thank you, Kumba. And that's really great how the way that the deferred tuition agreement is set up is it does take away those stresses, and it really helps students just focus on learning, making this career transition, and really giving them that launch pad to make it as successful as possible. And kind of to go off of that, one of the reasons we were drawn to the deferred tuition agreement is that it provided, some of these really good advantages that other, maybe some other options have. One of those, Tess, could you really kind of dive into maybe a little bit, what is the difference between a DTA and an ISA? Because I know students do have that other options with some other programs, and so sometimes it might get a little confusing on what the differences between those two are.
So at Stride, we offer a number of what you consider outcomes-based funding products. And the similarity with all of our products is there's always that downside protection. So you only, again, start making payments when you earn above a certain income. And so the difference structurally is really an income share agreement that once you earn above that minimum income threshold, you're paying a fixed percentage of your income. So if you earn less, you pay less. If you earn more, you pay more. But the percentage of income is fixed over a certain amount of time. Whereas with the deferred tuition agreement, you pay a fixed dollar amount over a fixed amount of time. And the nice thing about the deferred tuition agreement is you have that student protection, you have that alignment, but it's really easy for you to know exactly what your payments are. So there's a lot of clarity and transparency from day one on exactly what your expected payments are, which is part of why I think the Learn Academy team was so drawn toward that structure. And it's worked really well. We've seen so much, student adoption, across our portfolio with the deferred tuition agreement, and students seem really happy with just the way that it's really best of both worlds as far as how we think about that structure.
Excellent, excellent. And you're 100% right. That clarity, that transparency is really what draws us to the deferred tuition agreement. And I think it really makes sense for a lot of our students, and it seems to, those results are kind of coming through already. Thank you for kind of shedding some more light on that and helping us understand a little bit more about that. So I really do appreciate that. Kumba, real quick, would you mind kind of discussing a little bit more about what are the distinct advantages that the deferred tuition agreement provides?
The deferred tuition agreements are more critical in this environment more than ever, and they provide students with some fantastic advantages. The first being downside protection, as Tess said earlier. Students are required to pay even if they're earning below the minimum income threshold they're not required to pay even if they're earning below the minimum threshold of $30,000 per year. There are also automatic deferred payment periods in which if a student is unemployed and making below the minimum income threshold, there's protections for that too as well. Additionally, there's a grace period after graduation until your payments begin. So you don't have to worry about that for several months after graduation. This gives our students a little peace of mind, which is obviously important. You don't want to, if you're starting a new job, you want to have a little bit of leeway there to be able to get yourself situated before you have to start worrying about payments. Second, the DTA allows for our students and learn to be in complete alignment with regards to just the incentives of the program. We're investing in our students' success, which is ultimately important. We want you to come up with the skills to be able to find a great job and to be able to start a new career. So Learn is committed to helping make sure our students have a successful career transition. And we're close to close to 500 alumni at this point, and we're providing them with a successful path into the tech industry, which is really important to us. And lastly, our career services is something that our students are really, in terms of the career search plan, that we really focus on while the students are in Learn and even after. So to give a little bit of ease of mind that you will have an opportunity that someone's going to be there to help you find work prior to these payments kicking in.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kumba. I appreciate you going over some of those distinct advantages of the DTA. Now, looking into some of the terms a little bit, like what the actual structure of the plan looks like, would you mind just kind of going over what are some of the terms and who is, eligible for the DTA?
With the DTA, you pay an affordable fixed monthly income, and it's basically you have to make at least $2,500 a month or $30,000 a year. We look at where you're going and not where you've been, so the rates are based on your expected earning potential. With our DTA, the structure is simple. After a $1,500 deposit, you pay $345 a month for 48 months with an automatic deferral in months where you are making less than $2,500 a month or $30,000 a year.
Great. That's really, that income threshold, is so, I think, beneficial on the student side, because it really it, like you said, it aligns our incentives and it makes sure that we're committed to helping them, get a good, meaningful, valuable, employment where they can build a successful career path. Tess, one of the biggest questions we get from a lot of our students when they're applying for the DTA is, how much of a factor credit plays into the decision. Can you talk a little bit more about like what are you looking for in an individual when they apply to Stride, and like maybe what are some of the factors that help them get approved for the DTA plan?
Absolutely. So I think ultimately student centricity is so core to our mission, and part of that is making sure that we're really being inclusive as we think about who gets access to the financial products. And so with that in mind, unlike a lot of private loans where students are required to have co-signers, there's FICO cutoff scores, with our DTA, with Learn, there is never a requirement of a co-signer, and there is no set FICO cutoff scores. Instead, what we're really making sure is just students have clean credit, right? So, if you don't have 7 years of credit history, you have a thin file, you have a low score, just because you haven't built it up, that's totally fine. We just want to make sure that you have a high likelihood of making your payments, because as you can imagine, it's really important to just make sure the program is sustainable so that more students can be funded in the future. But with that being said, again, it's really just making sure that you have a good track record, more or less, and not necessarily about your specific score, which means a lot of students would get access to our products when they necessarily may not be approved with a traditional private lender.
I love that. Thank you. I love that, you're really looking to be as inclusive as possible, and really, live up to the mission of the DTA, which is to help people gain access to a coding career. And it's everybody. It's, it's really bringing, making it inclusive and making it available and affordable to everyone. So thank you for going into that. Awesome. So, thank you for kind of listening through this. And if you are interested in the DTA, Kumba, can you kind of talk a little bit about like what are the next steps? So what are we having people do to get into the DTA program from here?
Yeah, so students interested in the Deferred Tuition Agreement, the first step is obviously to apply to Learn Academy's 4-month intensive bootcamp. Once you complete your application, you'll need to set up a meeting with me so we can go over your goals and kind of learn a little bit more about you and to see if the program works for you. Once you're accepted into the program, the next step will be to apply for the Deferred Tuition Agreement through Stride. Once you've completed the application and you've been approved, you will then begin the onboarding process into the cohort and begin all the prep work that's necessary to be successful in our cohort. Once you've graduated from the program, the next step is to start the job search plan. We have great partnerships throughout the process to help you do that. So we'll have lots of resources to get you that next job.
Thank you, Kumba, Tess. I really appreciate you both joining me today and allowing us to dive into a little bit more about our partnership with Stride and the Deferred Tuition Agreement. If you'd like to learn more about Learn Academy, our Deferred Tuition Agreement, or some of our upcoming cohorts, or how to apply to our bootcamp, please visit www.learnacademy.org and you'll get all the information you need. So thank you again for joining us. Have a great day.